some form of transportation, say to get to work or to just go out and have fun? Well, I'm Brendan Skomo, and today I'll be demonstrating threading on the lathe. So you can see here I have some visuals of threads people have done. These are half 13 threads. What that means is you turn down your stock to a half an inch, and then it's 13 threads per inch, so it means it'll take 13 spins to get an inch down on your threads. Some of the purposes of threads are for, say, in your car, they help hold stuff together, and when your threads are done properly, it'll be pretty tough to strip them and to make them come out. And over here I have a visual of threads that I did. I took them too deep. You'd like to see on top of them that you can notice on the top of the threads they're broken off and starting to come over. Over here I have a visual that someone had when they were turning down this. They turned it down to the correct diameter, but when they were threading it, they didn't have a tailstock in, and they took off too much material. As you can see, it actually bent it. And some of the ways that we use to check our threads are called thread measuring wires. And how these work, they come with a chart. You would open up your chart, and since I'll be demonstrating half 13 threads, I would find 13 on the chart, and it has a number beside it that you would actually have to subtract when you use your micrometers. And for 13, it's 0.01812, and it says use the 0.045 wires, which are right here. And the way these wires work is whenever you get your part, you take two wires, put them on either side, put them with one thread in between them, and then you take your last wire and put it opposite of the two that you have on top. Then you would use your micrometer and measure it on top of the wires, and then take whatever number that the diameter of the wires would add on, subtract that from what you get on your micrometer. If you'd like to see, here's the threads I did with the bolt. Okay, and now I'll set up my machine to make my threads. And the first thing I do, I come over and read our threads and feeds chart, and I'm making 13 threads. So I'd look for here on 13, it's on C, so you'd come down and move this lever to C, which it's already on, and it's 2 over, and this, where this comes in play, got numbers right here that you'd move it over to. It's on 2. Then over here it has the lever on the head, which is F and E, and it shows up here, it needs to be on E. When you run on E, you cannot run it over 300 RPMs. Then I would set my RPMs to do my threads. You're supposed to run them slow. I like to run on this machine at 69 RPMs. So you come over here and adjust this to 69. And then I would back out my cross slide and take what are called fishtail gauge. As you can see, it looks like a fishtail. It has grooves on this side. I'll take this groove and put it up to the front of my threading tool and make sure that this side here is flush with my part. Whenever the threading tool goes into this groove, it shouldn't have a gap on either side, and if it does, it means my threading tool isn't going in straight. And I'll do that right now to make sure it's straight. And if you would look, you can see over here that the end of my fishtail gauge is flush with my part, and the tip of my threading tool, which is this part right here, the tip of my threading tool is perfect inside the fishtail gauge. So I'll back my cross slide back out. Now I want to zero my cross slide in my compound rest. To do that, you bring your threading tool up to your part You should always have your threading tool a little bit below center of your part. Just bring your cross slide up to where it's close, and then what I do, see our compound rest has a little bit of slop in it. I like to turn this in until it touches, and now it's touching, so I'll zero my cross slide. Then I'll zero my compound rest. Then back your cross slide out. Then take this one here and move it to the front of your part and take your cross slide back into zero. And then turn your machine on. And you want to put oil on your part so it doesn't overheat and possibly break your tool and mess your threads up. So I'll put oil on my part now. Then now what you're going to do is take your compound rest and turn it in 5/1000ths of an inch. And then this is your half nut wheel, and on this machine, when you're doing odd number threads, you have to turn your half nut lever, you have to engage it on any numbered line, and for even threads, you would engage it on any line. What I like to do is pick one number, use that number the whole time, just to make sure that it's done correctly. I'm going to engage it on one. And if you would see, it is starting to form my threads. Then what I'll do is I'll back out my cross slide, disengage the half nut lever, wipe off some of the threads, stop my machine. I'll use what's called a thread gauge. And for this, I'm doing 13 threads, so I picked number 13. I'll come up and check it on my part to make sure that they all line up and to make sure I'm doing 13 threads. Down here they do. I'm going to start my machine back up, move it back over to the beginning of my part, take your cross slide, zero it again. Then now, instead of taking 5/1000ths, I'm going to take 3/1000ths of an inch. Wait for one and engage it. We'll put some more oil on my part. Then you wait until it goes to the end of your threads. Back out your cross slide and go back to the beginning again and repeat the same process. This time I'm just going to take it in 2/1000ths of an inch and wait for one again to re-engage it. Then if you would see on here now that my threads are starting to be formed and getting deeper. And then if your threads are too deep, you will notice that the tops are getting too pointed and will start to break off, and if they're too shallow, your tops will be too flat. And now, I'm just going to go back in and take what's called a spring pass. Whenever you take a pass, your tool is actually pushing your material and your stock away, and then it won't give you a true finish. So I'm going to re-zero my cross slide. Compound rest, I'm not going to take any material off. As you can see, it was being pushed away, so it is taking material off from where my threads are being made. It's not taking much, but it is still taking some off. I'm going to shut my machine off. if you would come up here and look, you could see that the threads are getting deeper. And just to save some time, I'm not going to finish these threads since I already have the ones that are completed. And just some of the main steps to remember when threading are to always have it set to the right number of threads on here. And whenever you do it, make sure you know what kind of thread you're doing, if they're even and odd, so you know what numbers and lines to stop on. And that's about it. Well, some of the main stuff is just, as I said, to hold stuff together, like in your car. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want something falling out of your car that is very important, or having your wheel come off when you're driving down the road. That's all I have to say. Any questions?